Hello everybody and welcome to the Kube Vanguard. So you've probably noticed a couple of things. First of all, I'm brighter. Not in mind perhaps, but at least in video. Yes, I purchased some lights. Unfortunately, it's rainy today, so normally there's a sun coming in on the side, so this isn't really the way it's going to be going forward. But nevertheless, I think I'm shining a little bit more than I usually do. On top of that, I think next week's going to be the camera effort because this old garage sale camera from 2010 perhaps does not really fit the bill. Nevertheless, okay, some other cool things you might have noticed was, now you all know I'm a big swag fan, and yeah, I've got a new swag t-shirt. And it's cool, isn't it? I like the dark colors. Remember, dark colors, you can go to lunch and you don't have to worry, right? If you spill because you just got some water, it's good. If you've got like a bright shirt and you spill something on it, you're going to walk around all day, people go, oh, he's a slob. So I like the dark color, but also the name, Whipcord Edge, okay? Guess what? That's where I'm working now. So I'm working for a company called Whipcord Edge. I saw that name and I thought, Edge, it reminds me of K3S, Kubernetes Edge, and Whipcord. Well, Whipcord, well, that's fast internet. How's that? Okay, anyways, yeah, so I get some swag. You know me, I don't go and work somewhere. I don't care about salary, hours, yeah, that's important. But swag, you have to have good swag. And luckily, these folks have great swag, so, I had to join. Okay, so we got some exciting things happening this week. This was supposed to be a documentation walkthrough, right? Remember I promised? But you know me, I break my promises. No, what happened was I woke up, I looked at the documentation, thinking what I was going to talk about, and I noticed something. And I'm going to show you that right now if I can figure out my new software, which I'm using. New lights, new software, it's really crazy. And oh, you know what? My screen was all messed up anyway, so that's good. Okay, so let me just do this, and I will make myself smaller. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing when you change software. There we go. It's difficult because you're used to something, and then you got to go, especially if it's like video or something like that. I'm a system engineer. I mean, so anyways, look, I'm figuring it out. The main thing is the presentation, right? Okay, so what did I notice when I went into the custom documentation this morning? I noticed the release was 5.5.9. Well, what was it just yesterday? It was 5.5.8. Okay, what do you do when you see a new release? You go to the release notes, right? Of course. So I was going to talk about installing K10, that section. We're going to put that off to next week. Instead, we're going to go look at the release notes. And this is one of those like birthday surprises. Like birthday, you get presents from people, and 90% of the time, the things you don't want, and you got to put the phony face on and go, oh, I've always wanted that. And then, you throw it away or go to the garage sale with it. But then there's those few times when you get a present, which you really, really wanted. And then you have to be careful because you might show too much joy and everyone else realizes you didn't really care about what they gave you. Okay, similar situation here. I was happily going through the beginning of the recent notes, and what did I see? Point number 2, instant recovery. Okay? Now, for you Veeam folks out there, instant recovery, wow, what gives? We've had instant recovery for a long time. No, this is instant recovery in Kubernetes, okay? So let's check this out. I'm going to press it. So a good thing about these release notes too is they have a highlight on it, so you can go to the parts that are really interesting. I'll also mention that renaming PVCs during restores is also big, okay? I mean, if it wasn't for instant recovery, I'd be focusing on that. So let's go to instant recovery and see what it says. Okay, big, long section. And of course, it's tied to Veeam. And let's just see. So it's big. I can't really go through it all right now. I haven't read it yet. I'm so excited I didn't even read it. I just decided to present it to you. I might say something awful and it's too late. But no. So it's going to talk about it. Now, I heard about this coming, to be honest. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. And I also heard that it's only on FCD vSphere first class disks. Okay, so you have to kind of it has to be a vSphere and it has to be on first class disks. Okay, I'll be honest, I don't know what those are. I mean, I think I do, but I'm not an expert, so don't worry about that. The main thing is the barrier has been broken. Okay, instant recovery, Kubernetes, those are now in the same sentence, so it's only going to grow from there. And obviously, it'd be fun to test this. But the idea about instant recovery, if you're not aware of it, and was revolutionary and still is that you can run your production, your applications, whatever you need, from the backup file. So what does that mean? And I've used this many times in real live situations. Customer has an issue, VM stops working, whatever. It can work with an agent as well, okay? And what do? There's no time to lose. You need that application up and running now, or you need that file server up and running now. There's, you got a manager screaming at you, I need to fix it now. Instant recovery, you can bring it back up and it starts working from the backup file. So we're talking minutes, okay? We're not talking about doing a full restore and waiting for the thing and, looking at percentage sign and going, please, God, make it go faster. No, it's up and running. And then you can migrate it back to production, or you can do all sorts of things. The important point here, though, is that your workloads are up and running faster. Now, while it's in that mode, it's creating a little Delta file, okay, for the changes, because you don't want it up and running, and then, when you turn it off, guess what? All the changes are lost. That wouldn't be very much fun in instant recovery, because you'd be right into instant knockout right after that, right, when your manager came in. So, no, it keeps a Delta file. So these are what they call temporary situations. And same with replication when you fail over, right? It's a temporary state, not a permanent state. So you're going to have to take some actions after that in order to fully come back to a normal working environment. However, in our modern world where everything has to be up and running, it's an extremely important feature. And as I mentioned before, with Veeam agents, you can do instant recovery as well. And you can do instant recoveries to Hyper-V or to vSphere or vice versa. So it also goes into the whole cloud mobility thing. But in Kubernetes, this is a new thing that Kasten brought in, and it's going to be really exciting. Obviously, it's just the beginning, so we've got a long way to go. But I think that the minute you see this kind of thing coming in, it's great, because it means that these same features are going to come available in the Kubernetes world. And again, a lot of these things, data protection is data protection, okay? The fact it's Kubernetes, the fact it's Windows or Linux, data protection is data protection. Many of the threats are the same, okay? And many of the solutions are the same. Now, when you go deeper, you're going to have differences, obviously. But at the end of the day, you want as many tools as you can get to restore data, okay? I've been in a lot of disaster situations, and the worst situation you can be in is when you have one tool, and guess what? Something happens that no one kind of could foresee, and that tool doesn't work. And I've been in those situations, okay? So what I always say to customers, and I say to people or anyone, even your home computer, is have as many as feasible ways of restoring, okay? So it doesn't mean you have to go and buy like 5 computers and have them all sitting there. Obviously, no. There's a cost to protection kind of ratio. It has to be, unless you're really rich, right? I mean, you're really rich, buy 20 of them. But the more the better, okay? Because you never know what's going to happen. And anyone who says to me, no, I know what's going to happen, we can go back to 2020 and say, did you know there was going to be a pandemic? No. Okay, so that's argument one. Anyways, getting back to this. So this is really exciting. I'll try to test this as soon as possible. But let's also go back. I might actually do a deeper dive on this because this is just, really quick. But let's also go back and see what else there's. Now, there's also support to import applications with block mode exports. I'm going to have to look into that a bit more. Block mode exports. I kind of think I know what that is. Let's take a look. Okay, so yeah, vSphere, Google Cloud, AWS, applications with block mode exports. Okay, so that's specific to those. But the renaming PVCs. Okay, so this is pretty cool. Now, what is this linked to? And I've talked about this before. Transforms. And the idea behind transforms is, a simple idea, for instance, is that you have a workload in Kubernetes and the underlying storage, let's say, is, I don't know, CSI host path. It's a test environment, okay? So that's the storage is running on that CSI driver. And let's say you want to restore it into your vSphere cluster, okay? Well, you have to change that persistent volume claim, okay? Because it's not going to work. There is no CSI host path in your vSphere environment, I would hope. It's a test kind of thing. Well, you can do that with transforms. You can do a lot of things with transforms. In other words, when you're restoring, you can transform the data you've got backed up to function in a new environment or new situation. Or in the case of replication, you can transform the number of replicas to 0 so that you have the workload ready to go, but it's not consuming resources. Long story, I've talked about it before, but this is the same thing. It's going to use transforms in Kasten to rename your persistent volume claim. And off the top of my head, I can't think of why I'd want to do that, but I do remember certain instances where that could be important. Again, they're going to probably talk about it here, but it's a new and excellent feature. That with the instant recovery, Kasten, just every time it comes out, it's excitement, But this is truly a big one. This instant recovery. Okay, so that's going to be it for this week. I might go and buy a camera this week. I'm gonna look at the sales, obviously, but I think this camera needs to be changed. Let me make myself bigger again. 1 second. Yeah, because obviously I'm looking at myself and it's like, oh no, I look awful. No, I mean that's the only problem. You get a better camera, it gets more accurate, right? Sometimes an older camera, it's kind of fuzzy. Oh, you don't look half bad there, Jeff. And yeah, thanks. And then you buy the super duper camera. It's like, oh, you know what? Why don't you go back to the garage sale camera? Which we won't do. Okay, let's see you next week, and we'll be back with more interesting information. Next week, we will go through the Kasten install portion here, which is the next level down from the K10 overview. Again, I had to digress this week because it was too big, this information about the instant recovery. So we'll see you next week on the Kube Vanguard.